gosh. I'm like, it's so weird. It's so weird, like, being live on here. Let's see. Just wanna make sure that I have my settings correct. It's so interesting because 'cause I'm like, "How do I change the audio on here?" Alright, I'm assuming assuming okay, I'm gonna, like, quickly change the lighting. Lighting is a little too bright for my liking. We gotta make it moodier. Okay. So, all right. So I'm gonna go live on like 3 different platforms. It's gonna be very interesting. But first, okay, going live on 3 different platforms. All right. Haven't been live in a minute. I have updated my setup here, as some of you can see. Some of you probably can't see. All right. Live on 3 different platforms. Hi, Anya. I think I said it correctly, right? Hello. Hi, Zip. Hello. All right. So we're going to get into these spooky stories. Now, I am live over on YouTube. So I'm going to try to share my screen over here on on YouTube. So that way you guys can see what this looks like. Oh, I don't like that. I like this. All right. You know what? It's fine. We'll be able to see it. It's fine. All right. So I am over here. That's really cool, red rum. Hi, Jenny. I'm just here in bed with your cat will protect you. What kind of cat do you have? I feel like so I have an orange cat, I have a gray cat. Okay. So, it's really sad. I clicked into this and it's like, hello. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Got it. You got it? Okay, you can probably see me in the bottom corner over there. Can you guys hear me over here on YouTube? All right. So, this is what the story is called. This is on the No Sleep Reddit thread, and the user is Sam Hasem. And it is titled "My Grandma Used to Tell Me Scary Stories When I Was Little. There's one I will never forget." So I was 10 years old when grandma came to live with us. It was about 6 months after granddad had passed away. And I guess looking back, she must have been really lonely in that big house of theirs, rattling around with only grief and memories for company. So, despite a few protests for mom, my parents took her in. Jenny, you have 4 cats? Zip, maybe in a little bit, maybe a little bit. I'm gonna read a couple of stories, and then we'll have people share their stories in a minute. Alright, so there was no protest for me, none at all. Grandma was loud and fun, and I loved her. She had an almost limitless supply of boiled sweets. She always would slip at me a couple whenever she saw me, and she was always the first to stick up for me when I was in trouble as well. There were no protests for me, none at all. Oops, rereading things. But it was her stories I loved the best. Actually, I feel like grandparents tell the best stories. I had a grandfather who would tell me amazing ghost stories and stuff like that. And yeah. Hi, Victor. So if you guys are curious to see the story that I'm sharing, I'm over here on YouTube sharing my screen so you guys can see all the stories on here as well. But yeah, yes, Mysterion goes. All right. Grandma had all kinds of stories, stories about growing up during World War II and stories about the things she'd get up with her friends on the South Coast. After her family had been evacuated, there were sad stories, funny stories, adventures stories. Grandma had lots of scary stories. She told me she had dabbled in the occult when she was a teenager, trying out Ouija boards with her friends, tarot cards, and fortune telling and all that stuff. Funny because look what I have. I have one Ouija board here, one Ouija board up there. Funny. Oh my goodness. All right. So most of the stories I would laugh off or forget about not long after she was done telling them. But there was a couple that really did spook me quite a bit. I was only 10 at the time, you'd have to understand, and grandma certainly knew how to bring stories to life. Like I said, grandparents always tell the best stories. So she would shut off the lights in my room, and so only the glow of the night sky should shine through the curtains, and she'd shuffle in real close. Close enough so I could see the wrinkles on her face and smell the boiled sweets on her breath. Close enough so her deep blue eyes could stare straight into mine. Ooh, alright. She must have given me nightmares with a few of those tales, but now, years later, there's only one that I can still remember, and only one that has ever stuck with me. Oh my goodness. Are we excited? Are we ready for this? Should I take a swig of raw water? Jenny says, "I get loads of things happening in my flat, like someone's running around and weird dreams about it too. The Crooked Man, and I've done tarot cards. I ain't used them yet." Ooh, gosh. You know what's interesting? What's the Crooked Man? Is that the one with, like, the smile? Okay. So, this is the story. I think we're ready, right? Alright. So, the story was about the shower and Mr. Longfingers. When I said that, I thought of salad. What's it called? Salad fingers? What's his name? Am I getting it right? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Okay. So, grandma told me about Mr. Longfingers one night after I asked her about her baths. Grandma used to love her baths. She spent ages in them. She would light candles and incense and lie in the tub, humming to herself until the water turned cold. It drove my mom crazy, but when I asked her why she loved them so much, she said it was the only place that she could ever relax. It was the only place that was safe for her to relax too. Well, I would imagine too that if you're, if we're talking about the occults and all of that stuff, salad fingers, yes. Oh, the really long legged one with the umbrella. Ooh, that sounds spooky. Um, I imagine if you're lighting incense, though, like, obviously, like, doesn't that, like, for some, create a safe space and ward off things, right? I've talked about incense a few different times on here, but, interesting. So grandma stared at me with those blue eyes. Oops, where were we? Da-da-dum. So this is what she says. People like me who are, well, more sensitive to certain things, we have to have facts. She told me seriously one night, shuffling closer on the bed. I couldn't possibly spend that long in the shower. It'd be far too risky. Why was it risky, Grandma? She half turned to look out the window, watching me from the corner of her eye, pausing for effect. I waited, feeling my heart rate pick up ever so slightly in my chest. Well, she said after a moment, it's only risky if you close your eyes, of course, if you close your eyes for longer than 10 seconds. What do you mean? Why? Well, do you ever play that game in the playground with your friends? The one where someone turns their back and the others sneak up on them when they're not looking? I nodded, and my grandma nodded back. Exactly. So that's what it's like in the shower. When you have your eyes closed, that's what it's like with Mr. Long Fingers. Oof. A cold itch tickled my back. Oh, who's Mr. Long Fingers, Grandma? She let out a deep breath, as if she wished she hadn't said anything. She turned her head back to face mine. When she spoke next, she lowered her voice. No one knows exactly, Grandma whispered. Some think it's a creature that's attracted to the heat and smell we give off in there. Others think it's a demon that finds a way out into our realm through the dense steam clouds. No one can ever say for sure because the only ones who have actually seen Mr. Longfingers aren't ever going to be able to tell you. I pulled in my breath. Why not? Grandma shuffled closer along the bed and leaned towards me, leaving my question hanging in the air. Don't you worry about it, sweetheart. Don't your don't you worry your pretty little head. As long as you remember the rules, you'll be fine. What rules? Well, when you're in the shower, you try not to close your eyes for too long. 5 seconds is fine, and 10 is just about okay. But any longer than that, yeah, then what? Well, any longer than that, you may just start to feel something in the room with you, something watching. And if you ever go longer than 15 seconds, that's when you might start to hear a noise too. Hear what? The soft tap tap of fingers on the glass, fingers drumming against the glass door of the shower. If you do ever hear that noise, God forbid, will you make me a promise? Oh, what, Grandma? Promise me you'll never open your eyes. I barely slept that night, hardly at all. I'd close my eyes and try to relax, but every time I did, I imagined a face pressed against my bedroom window, staring at me. And when I did finally get to sleep, I had nightmares, bad ones. I had them all week. In fact, dreams about disembodied eyes watching me in the dark and long fingers reaching out to touch my exposed skin. It wasn't any better when I was awake either. Not really. The shower is the worst. That's when my grandma's story really got to me. I never thought about it before, but suddenly I had trouble shutting my eyes in there. I'd be standing beneath the beating water, shampoo running down my face, and as soon as I squinted my eyelids close, I'd hear grandma's words running through my head. 5 seconds is fine, and 10 is just about okay, but any longer than that. I'd rub my hair so fast, feeling the shampoo dripping off my chin, and as soon as I continued past 5 seconds, I'd feel it. A sort of pressure, not a feeling of being watched. Exactly, but something close to that. I'd run my fingers faster through my hair, frantically trying to get the suds out, and the ruddy blackness behind my closed eyes, coupled with a rush of water in my ears, would feel like a held breath, like the silence before a scream. The seconds would race through my mind, and I'd be so desperate to open my eyes again that I'd sometimes do it before my hair was rinsed fully clean and my eyes would sting with shampoo. Oh my god, I hate that feeling. I hate that feeling when you're in the shower and you're, like, washing your hair, so you have to, like, close your eyes for, like, a couple of seconds, and you're, like, rushing through to get all the shampoo out because you're like, "What if someone's watching me?" Oh my god, anyway. Trillbert says, "I think about my grandma." What? What am I missing? Oh my gosh, no. Thank you so much for the likes. Anya, you said your mother saw A Bible floating? Wait, what? Yeah, Victor, ex yeah, even, like, when you're watching, like, scary movies, like, that will happen. I'll be, like, in the bathroom, like, it's so funny because when I was reading the story and this individual was talking about their grandmother telling them the rules of when they're showering, I remember when I was a little kid, I watched, Jaws, and I don't know if anyone else here has had the same feeling with the movie Jaws or has seen the movie Jaws. If you haven't, I'm gonna be really shocked, but, I remember when I was a kid and I had watched that film, I I'd be, like, in the bathtub or in the shower, and it was, like, so irrational, but I was a little kid, so bear with me. I would be like, "What if a shark's gonna be in here? The shark's coming to get me." Oh my god, is that really? You know, so re Victor says, "Still the reason why I don't swim ever in pools." Oh my goodness. See, I feel like Jaws has got all of us at some point traumatized of showering or being in a bathtub, so again, everybody, so I'm live on all 3 like, my 3 major platforms, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, so if you guys wanna watch, what I'm reading, I'm sharing my screen over here on YouTube, you're more than welcome to join me over here as well. The pool, freaking Jaws. You know, it's interesting, I had gone to Universal Studios and I took the they take the tram, right, the tram tour, and every time I see that shark, I'm like, "It's you. You're the one that made me paranoid." You made me paranoid as a little kid. But you know what else got me paranoid about now in life? When I was taking the tram, they'll spray the water, and it got in my eye, and I got really paranoid that I was like, "What if I get bacteria in there or something?" Little Mandy, hi, little Mandy. I used to get creeped out when I would walk to shut the lights, and I would run back to my bed, like, if something was gonna exactly, I do the same thing. I do the same thing. Like, not as much now, but there is a period in life where I would turn off all the lights in my house or my apartment, and I would, like, run to my bedroom, like like, "What's chasing me?" So funny. This, like we all have, like, this universal experience. It makes me feel a little bit gives me comfort. Red Rum says, "I'm afraid of rinsing my hair during the summer and finding a spider." Oh my god, okay. Red Rum, you okay, I have been this whole week because 'cause I've been, noticing earwigs, in my, by my Christmas tree. I have been, like, touching my like, the back right here, like, the back of my hair right here, like, just whenever I feel any itch, I'm just like, "There better not be any earwigs." Because when I was younger, my first studio apartment was infested with earwigs, and the landlord refused to do anything about it, and I actually had to break my lease because I would it was a cute little studio apartment, brand new, it was renovated and everything, and it was really convenient location-wise, but he would refuse to, like, do anything with, like there was wasps, there was earwigs. The wasps never made it inside my apartment, but definitely I had a lot of spiders and earwigs, and I had to, like, spray stuff in my apartment, and he would, like, not do anything about that, and I remember this one time I was laying down getting ready to go to bed, and I was like, "Okay, there's nothing on my bed," and I started to feel, like, this pinch, like, back here, and I, like again, this is before the trauma of the earwig, I, like was like, "What is causing this, like, uncomfortable sensation?" And it was like I pull it out, it was the earwig. I had not only was it in my hair, which is traumatizing itself, but it's in my hand now, and I'm, like, squeezing it because I'm freaking out. It was, like, the most awful feeling ever, awful moment of my life. Needless to say, I had to break the lease and, move out of there, and yeah, fun little things, and it's interesting because he was also just, like, a creepy landlord, and so, on top of being, like, negligent about, like, the earwigs and the spiders in my apartment, the week that I told him I was moving out, he had gone in my apartment without telling me, and I was already, like I was in college at the time. So, he called me, he's like, "Oh, just so you know, I went in your apartment, you still have all these things in there." I'm like, "Yeah, I haven't, like, fully moved out of my apartment yet, like, it's still, like, a week before I have to be out of there." Um No, EG. Stop telling people what to do. Let people live. Victor, only thing I think about is an actual wig for your ear. Okay, Victor, I encourage you to look it up. I encourage you to look it up. I hate earwigs. They're like the worst. Not only do they have like they're long and have that pincher, they're just ugly. They're just centipedes and earwigs, gross, and spiders, all a gross combination. You got bit Anya, you got bit by a spider and sick the same day. Oh my gosh. No, thank you. Oh, you know what? Speaking of getting bit by a spider, so that same apartment where I found the earwig in my hair, this one time I was doing laundry and this I also experienced like a spider. It didn't bite me, but it ran across my arm and I started like breaking out in hives. So I'm sorry that you got sick on the same day. I'm glad you're alive though. I'm glad you're here. Nothing, nothing too bad happened. Still getting bit by a spider is very unpleasant. The doll behind me moved? Which one? Which one? Victor says, "I'd be mad if I got bit by a spider and no powers." You know, I've I feel like I've been bit by a spider. I feel like I have. Like, when you wake up and there's, like, a bump on your arm or back? I feel like I've been bit by a spider, and I've had no powers. Kinda sucks. Thank you, thank you. I have a whole array of little collections going on. Yes, Victoria, you looked it up, right? Now you can't unsee it. Now you're gonna be paranoid. I was paranoid, trust me. Just even looking at them, I'm like, "No." Carl says, "I love that comment." Well, if spiders gave us superpowers, I feel like most people would be running towards spiders at this point. But unfortunately, we all run from them. Most people run from them. Has anyone seen the she's on TikTok, and she has, like, the tiny jumping spiders as her pets, and she, like, zooms in on them, and she, like, does, like, story times. I think that's as much as, like, curiosity I have as at looking at spiders, but anything else, anything other than her channel, I'm still paranoid of spiders. Victor's like, "I'm good not Googling." Right? They're so cute, they're so cute. I'm like, "Why can't I feel this way about spiders?" Oh my gosh. No, most of them scare me. Carl says, "Sadly, some kid allowed a black widow to bite him because 100% believe he was gonna get." No, 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 no. Black widows are scary. Someone told me that they got bit by a black widow, and it was really, really painful. Oh, yeah, don't I mean, if you this it's not for the faint of the heart, okay? If you are feeling brave, if you wanna look at earwigs, you wanna Google it, go ahead. They are ugly. They are very ugly. No thanks. Yeah, no. I think all of us collectively are like, "The tiny jumping spider is cute. Everything else, no go." One of my really good friends, when I lived in Minnesota, one of the things that I also was very paranoid about was centipedes. I mentioned that earlier. And she had like her mom had moved into this very cute, like it was like a cottage core dream house. It was like 2 no, it was 3 stories because most houses in Minnesota have basements, the main floor and then the 2nd floor. It was a very cute house from what I remember. And I don't know if her mom still lives there. If she does, I would love to, like, see the outside of it. I don't know about the inside because centipedes. But she, she was, like, moving in to her bedroom. They're all moving in the week of moving in, and she was setting up the curtains, and she felt like something crawling up her leg, and it was a centipede, and I was like, "Nope." I would have, like, burned all my curtains. I would have jumped in the shower. Oh my god. Jenny says, "I once had an earwig in my inhaler and didn't realize it until I'd taken my." That's horrible! That's horrible, Jenny. Wait, what are potato bugs? Do I look this up? Potato. Oh, no, you just ruined well, you didn't ruin this, but seeing this ruined my nights. Oh, no. Oh gosh. Oh god, but can I collectively feel like bugs make me cry because 'cause they're so scary. Um, Victor says, "People would mess with me about banana spiders when I managed the produce department." Oh, no, no. I recently saw a video about that. This guy my mom showed it to me on Facebook, and my mom is more of, like, a Facebook person, of course. She had showed me a video of this guy who was, like I think he was in El Salvador, I wanna say, or Guatemala, and he was he was basically, like, chopping down the bananas, and he got bit by one, and it was, like, a whole video process of, like, what do you do when you get bit? I was like, "No, that's scary AF. No." And I'm still paranoid. Even when I, like, pick up bananas, I look at the, bananas, I'm like, "What?" Jenny says, I have spiders in my grapes." No, what? No. I will say that grapes okay, I love grapes, and I'm sure we're gonna get grapes for New Year's. Um Great, that's something I'm gonna be paranoid about on New Year's Eve. Hi, Pep. Hi, I'm new. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to the spooky club. Yeah, Victor, I wouldn't wanna hear anything about spider bananas when you're stocking bananas at your job. Ooh, you owned a see, I feel like okay, it's interesting, right? Because I feel like the little tiny jumping spiders are really cute. Tarantulas can be cute too, actually. I'm still apprehensive of holding them. I've, you see, I think I've, what was it? It was a butterfly pavilion in Colorado. Um, you could hold a tarantula with one of the people working there, and yeah. Do I need to panic? You see what? That's funny, but what? Yeah, tarantulas? Yeah, I don't know. They're cute, but I don't know if I could hold them. Oh, yeah, see, I think that's why. I think, like, I cannot contain my anxiety, and I wouldn't wanna get bit. I mean, I heard that, like, they bite, but it's really rare, and it's not as, like, it just depends on the type of tarantula. Hayes, hi people over here on YouTube. Oh my god, you guys are great. He says, "I heard we eat a handful of spiders in our lifetime while yeah, blah, I can't even talk, while we're sleeping." Yes, and I hate the thought of that. I hate the thought of that. The thought of us eating spiders. You know what? I think that's why the whole, like, tape over your mouth, trend, I'm kinda buying into it. I haven't tried it yet because 'cause I'm paranoid of, like, not being able to breathe and dying or something, but, I think part of the pros to taping your mouth is, so you don't eat bugs. It's not too bad, the pain, and apparently we swallow yeah, that's No, he says, "The thought makes me want to rip my stomach open." Yeah, see, I don't know. Victor says, "Luckily, my For You page is mostly bunnies with tempered." Oh my god, that sounds like a really awesome algorithm. I'm always telling people so, like, my close friends, they have, like, really funny algorithms. I think because, like, I do spooky content, I get more of, like, very serious my algorithm is very serious. Like, it's either, like, news stuff, spooky stuff. So I'm always, like, telling, like, my husband and my sisters and my close friends, like, "Send me your funny videos so my algorithm can, Yeah, so Pep and Jenny oh, sorry, Pep says, "I don't see any issue as long as we are sleeping." Fair. Jenny says, "My fear is them crawling in my ears and laying." Yes, okay, that's something that I've often thought about, especially, like, earlier how I said I kept seeing earwigs by my Christmas tree? My paranoia is that I, my paranoia is that they can crawl in your ear. Because 'cause isn't that, like, what I mean, and this might be a really stupid thing of me to say, so I apologize in advance, and someone please correct me, but, like, aren't they called earwigs because they crawl in your ear? Or, like, what is this? Like, why are they called earwigs? Um, my paranoia my I was it my sister? I think my sister had oh, thank you, Jenny. It's a myth, everybody. It's a myth. Didn't mean to spread fake news. But yeah, like, my sister, I think she had, like, a baby, like, cockroach or something that had crawled in her ear. I was when she told me that, I was, like, screaming. I was like, "Help, this is, like, the most horrible thing I've ever heard." Um, paranoia galore. Cockroaches in your ear, help. But it's, like, the really small one. It was, like, the, like, little I was like, "Eh." Should go to the doctor. Yeah. Yeah. No, no, thank you. No, thank you. Um Victor says about his algorithm, "Mine is spooky stuff, anime, comedy, cute pets." Okay, I love that algorithm. See, that sounds like a great algorithm. It's, like, balanced. You got everything. You got the spooky stuff, anime, you got laughs, cuteness, come on. That's a great algorithm. He says, "Have you heard about botflies?" I have, and that no, thank you. No, thanks. You know what's speaking of flies, what show was it? It was this was, like, back in the early 2000s, I wanna say. It was kinda like a morbid show, I wanna say. I never really sat through a whole, like, episode of it, but I remember there was this one I'm pretty sure it was on there. It was like, what is it? Like, something ways to die, 1,000 ways to die or something like that. And apparently this person was walking and the fly had, like, hit this person's eye, and in that second, the fly had, like, laid eggs on this person's eye, and, like, it it caused several emergencies, um, and I think they passed away since it was on that show. I didn't really watch the whole episode, it was kinda scary. I'm pretty sure it was on on that show, and ever since then, I've been super paranoid about flies anywhere near my face. Pep says, "One time I was sleeping and this damn roach tried to go in" Ew! To go inside my mouth, and it was one of the big ones. The damn odor they live when you hit them. I hate ugh, no, thank you. I'm glad it didn't go in your mouth, though. And that don't, like, cockroaches fly? I'm pretty sure they fly. Um, A Thousand Ways to Die was on TNT. Yes, okay. Okay, so I think it was on that episode, one of the episodes on there. Red Rum says, I read recently that the color red in food and cosmetics comes from dried dead bugs, makes me rethink. Yeah, I seriously, ever since I read that too, I've been rethinking a lot of foods, um, like what I eat. So whenever okay, so there's this app, it has like the carrot like a little carrot icon on the App Store. I have an iPhone, and I think it's called Yuka, if I'm not mistaken, and I seriously so I'm clinically OCD, so I will, like, obsess over, like, irrational things, and ever since I read about the color red and bugs, yeah, there's an app to tell you what is naturally red or, like, if they use, like, fruits and stuff to dye red, but yeah, no thank you about that bug. Um, Jenny says, "And there was episodes of Parasites." Yeah, see, like, I don't think I could sit through all of that. Hi. Peps is it Pepsi? I can't see very well. Pepsi or Pep? Sorry, I think Pep sounds fun. I don't know, hope you don't mind I'm saying it that way, your username. To be honest, I saw her, she saw me, she got nervous, and instead of kiss me, she went inside my mouth. These cockroaches. Oh gosh. Yeah, yeah. I don't I'm glad that we kinda got into this collective bug conversation. It gives me so much comfort in a weird way. I genuinely hate bugs. I would like to like, picture myself as, like, "Wow, the world is beautiful, nature is great," and I would love to embrace it. Um, I love to embrace nature, but, yeah, bugs kinda ruin it, not gonna lie. When I lived in Minnesota, it was mosquitoes and all these other bugs. Colorado is one of my favorite states because bugs are pretty much nowhere. I mean, now I think with the population, there's been some bugs that traveled with population, surprisingly. Um, but overall, I love Colorado for that. Like, I never had to deal with, like, bugs. I don't think I really ever saw cockroaches in Colorado either, and I could enjoy nature. But then moving back to LA, we have Jenny Fine says, "I just hate it when you put your hand in a spud bag and there's loads of daddy long legs." No. Why can't they be called mummy long legs? For real, though. Yeah, why are they called like, I'm really curious, like, the earwigs, I just said something dumb out loud because I thought they were related to ears, but they're called earwigs, um, and daddy long like, who are name I wanna know, like, where are they getting the names to some of these bugs and spiders? I'm just I should probably, like, look into this. I think that'd be a very interesting fun fact. Um He says, "I remember learning the sky's filled with flying spiders. They use their webs as parachutes." Well, yeah, yeah. You know what's interesting, Hayes? So, I absolutely hate it, like, hate this. It's, like, scary galore. When you're just, like, hanging out, minding your own business outside, and you're talking to somebody, and then, like, you'll feel a spider web or something, like, fly across your face, and you just know it was a spider web. Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't know if anyone has ever experienced that, or better yet, when you're just, like, hanging out minding your own business and a spider comes out of nowhere from the sky and it lands on your face or hair. That's happened too. It's yeah, no, no, thank you. I don't know how to say your username, sorry, Pepsi Luche? I'm from Mexico originally. In Mexico, the roaches are big and fly. In Houston, I saw them only in medium size. Oof. Well, I don't know, I guess I don't know what would be considered, like, on the bigger scale, but, for me, anything that's, like I don't know, I use this because 'cause I've seen these, like, the size of this clip. Gross. Gross, 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 gross. You see anyone can see my clip? Yeah, gross. I don't no one spiders just I mean, not spiders, roaches, gross. Jenny Fine says, "It does make sense, earwigs, what you're saying, unless that is how they've" oops, unless that they found species as yeah, I don't know. Pepsi, like the soda, Luce, Pepe. Oh, Peluche, okay. Pepsi Luce. Did I say it right now? Red rum, I know leeches have been helpful in the medical field, but I wouldn't consider them to okay, you know what? Red rum, I've once had a leech on me. I had a leech on me. So, picture this, I was 7 and I was 'cause prior okay, so I moved to Minnesota, my parents are divorced. My dad mostly has always stayed in LA, and my mom moved to Minnesota for a while. And so when I was, like, 7, I moved to Minnesota with my mom briefly, and, here I am thinking as a 7-year-old that lakes are like, going to the beach because I was used to going to the beach in LA, and I didn't have to worry. Well, you have to worry about some things, but you can go, you dip your feet in the beach at the beach and, like, not a big deal, right? Minnesota. Um, and anyway, so moving out there's a lake by this playground, and I remember that I was like, "Oh, wow, there's this beautiful lake. I'm gonna, like, put my feet in this lake." Again, 7-year-old not knowing anything. So I put my feet and I walked out of the lake, and I look down on my feet, and I see, like, a black little thing squiggling around my pinky toe, and I'm like, "What is this?" And at first, I thought it was dirt. When I looked closer, I realized again, I didn't know what a leech was at 7 years old. I was like, "What is this?" And I'm seeing it just, like, swarming around, wouldn't move, wouldn't budge, nothing would take it off, and this kid at the playground was like, "Oh, you have a leech." And I'm like, "A leech? What do you mean I have a leech?" And I started freaking out. I was like, "What is this? What do you mean?" And she's like, "Yeah, it won't come off. It's gonna suck your blood." And I started, like, crying, 7-year-old me crying at the playground. So I'm, like, panicking. I I start running to the sandbox, and the sand is what took off like, this leech, like, was able to, like, fall off and die, so, yeah, I don't know, that saved me, worst experience ever, traumatized at 7, did never just that was the first time I realized this is why people don't go swimming in a lake or just any lake, but yeah, um let's see. He says, "Yep, it always happens when there's people around," or oh, going back to the conversation about spiders and just, like, popping up out of nowhere. Yep, it always happens when there's people around or a bunch of cars driving. Yes, exactly. Or there's a group of tiny flies, always has me looking stupid, slapping myself on my on a busy street. Yes, I do hate those fruit flies. Are they fruit flies? What are they? Just little, like, tiny little flies that, like, fly around your face. Oh my gosh. Hi, Tyler. Yeah, so just interesting. The doll blinked behind which one? This one? This one? Let me know. Um, Victor says, "Isn't the way you get it off by bringing it off?" Well, okay, so that's the interesting thing. I, I had many memories of this lake and this playground because it was so easily accessible. I do remember there was this other kid, but they were a little bit older than me, so while I was 7, this person had to been, like, 10 or 12 or something like that, and I do remember that they had gotten a leash on them, and they were, like, crying in the playground, and I think, like, someone, like, grabbed a lighter and tried to burn it off or something like that. So yeah, fun little things. Free pet vampire. Which one? The small ones. Oh, gnats, thank you. Gnats. What's funny about fruit flies? I feel like we're learning so much about bugs today. This is a whole live, not ghost stories. It's all about bugs. But you know what? Bugs are scary, I'm not gonna lie. I rarely meet people that are like, "Yeah, bugs are a great time. Let's hang out with the bugs." I don't know. I mean, have you ever met anybody? I don't know. Kinda interesting. Oh, thank you for the hug. Dragonflies are dope. Working in produce, Victor says, "Working in produce, I learned that a minute of water and mint keeps" Oh, so mint and water keeps them away. That's good to know. That's very good to know. Alright, shall we continue or shall we go to a different story? Let's go to a different story. This is a little bit long for paranormal paranormal encounters. Actually, ghosts, communities. Here we go. We're in the ghost thread. Okay, let's see, let's find a good ghost story. I'm ready for a lay off the box. Okay, let's see. You know what's interesting? I feel like okay, hold on, let me zoom out real quick because I can't see very well in here, and I'm not finding my normal spooky ghost things on Reddit, so okay, ghost stories. I feel like sometimes it's a hit or miss with these stories, but, you found me through I love Brittany Crab, she is amazing. Okay, let's see. We're getting closer, we're getting hang tight. We're gonna find these stories. What are you about to do? Jenny says the fruit flies are so annoying, they decide they want whoops, they want they they decide they want to, for some reason, attack your face. Yeah, I know, it's like, why the face? Why? I mean, I guess we know why, but it's just like, come on. Thank you, Wild Wild West. That's a pretty great username, actually, Wild Wild West. Is your name Wes? Oh man, yeah, go take a shower. I'm sorry you've been having a horrible week. It's I feel like a lot of weird energy okay, here's side. side note. I feel like there's been a lot of weird like, in my with my friends, family, including myself, it's been a weird week, and, like, I've noticed, like, people will be like, "Mercury retrograde, whatever, blah, blah, blah." I just feel like, it's always, like, the last 2 weeks before the year ends, it gets really intense. Like, I just saw, this is random, but I just saw on, like, my news app, like, Justin Baldoni is getting sued by Blake Lively. I'm like, "What? What a way to go the year go down." It's just, like, interesting energy. You know what I mean? Just weird. It just last 2 weeks, the last month. I feel like December can be a really good month for some people who really love Christmas, or it could be, like, a really intense 2 weeks. It's really interesting. I feel like my month, like, December is not always my it's like, I don't know, I'm not a December's not my favorite month, I'm sorry. Oh, Liz, hi, Liz. What are my thoughts? Oh, it's interesting because I don't know, I really feel I'm always like I feel like women in general, when it comes to accusations and feeling harassed and everything, like, obviously, that's a serious thing. And it's so disappointing because, like, Justin I don't know if anyone knows this, but, like, Justin Baldoni, like, I know he did, like, a whole TED Talk on, like, just in general, like, talking about, like, expressing like, men and expressing emotions and all these things, and he's always, like, seemed like an advocate for things like that. Um, but it's interesting. It's really sad. I've known people that really love Justin's like, his books, his TED Talks, all of his really, like his, like, active quote, unquote, like, activism. I don't know how to I'm gonna put quote, unquote because I don't know. I people consider that activism. I feel like there's a form of, like, humanitarian efforts with that. Yes. So you fo Liz says, "I have followed him so closely for so long. I have also been a fan of hers." It's very much mixed emotions because it's like, okay, definitely a serious thing to feel that way, right? But also, like, I remember during the pandemic, Justin would do lives regularly to check in on his fans, and he would, like, do lives with his fans, and then him and his wife started doing lives, and so he just seems like he just genuinely cares a lot about his community. So, like, to see all of this is just very disappointing and, yeah. Hi, Julie Juice. Not I'm gonna be doing scary stories right now, but thank you for asking. I feel very eerie, if you know what I mean. Like, something is in my flat trying to get my attention. It bangs about always stuff falling over the cats are always with me, and they always share. Oh my gosh. So wait, has how long has, like, the energy in your apartment been going on for, Jenny? Oh my gosh. Yes, we have to talk more. My porcelain doll, Victoria? Thank you. Um, so yes, funny story about this doll back here. I actually got her in a estate sale, and actually, Alice in Wonderland is one of my favorite Disney movies. So it is Little Mermaid, Alice in Wonderland is up there, and, I still have her box. Um, I don't really wanna get rid of her box, but, so this is a box that she came in, and I guess, like, she was never really, like, taken out of the box from my understanding, but it was an estate sale, and she was in the closet, and, I remember when I went to the estate sale, I I went into this room and I was like, "Can I open up the closet?" And Lydia's like, "Sure, why not?" There's, like, not many people have really been interested what's in there. I was like, "Sure." And I found the box, saw this, I saw her in the box, and yeah, she's, like, pretty much in really good shape, and she came with the white rabbit, so really cute. Bye, Hayes. Thanks for hopping on. Happy holidays. Jenny finds this. I collect living dead dolls. My family hates them. They won't go near them. They can be I mean, I can see why people yeah. I mean, I love estate sales. I that estate sale had so many porcelain dolls. It was really fun. Yeah, feel free to tell me whatever comes across your mind. But yeah, interesting stuff. Victor says, "Is the banging inside the flat?" Or he wants to know about the flat. He says, Is it banging inside the flat or on the outside of their flats? That is a really good question. Alright, so sorry, still looking for the stories. Your ghost stories, let's see. Alright, I'm about to let me share my screen on here. Zooming in. So this one is called Ghost Nurses Haunted Pub. So about 15 years ago, my brother and I visited Sydney for an exhibition. Sydney is an awesome place to visit if you like history and it has numerous ghost tours. We love ghost tours. So while there, I made the effort to visit the quarantine station, which occupies its own island. It was the first stop for incoming immigrants during the 19th century. It was particularly a haunted spot is the Nurses Walk, which is the walkway that stretches from the nurses' quarters to the hospital. A friend who also went on tour was walking down the pathway and felt a hand hit him across the back. He turned around and saw no one. Maybe he trod on the it's interesting because when people read different, when they write, like sorry, let me rephrase that. When when I'm reading, from, Europe or even Australia, like, when I'm reading the stories, it's interesting, the verbiage that they use, so, wait, retract what I'm saying because 'cause I'm like, "Wait, I have to, reread that for a second because 'cause I'm not used to saying that phrase." Okay, so it says here, "A friend who also on a tour was walking down the pathway, felt a hand hit him across the back. He turned around, saw no one. Maybe he trod on the toe of a ghostly nurse making her way to the hospital." Energy, yeah, energy is also great too. Jenny says, "I find it funny they won't hurt you unless you hurt them." Wait, are you talking about the flies? Okay. So another must-visit area is the Rocks, which is a harborside business district built in the 1800s. While on a ghost tour there, we visited an old pub which happened to be closed at the time. We visited the cellar, a few of us straggled behind, and out of nowhere we suddenly heard voices, like the sound of a group of people talking and sound of kegs being rolled down a plank. We looked at each other and said, "Do you hear that?" The pub was closed and the cellar was empty, but we could hear all the sound of men working in the cellar organizing the kegs. It didn't sound like a recording playing from a loudspeaker. It sounded like action taking place around you, like you were standing amongst workers as they worked. Suddenly, the noise stopped, and once again, the room was silent. We left the cellar stretching or scratching our heads. Interesting. Yeah, exactly. Definitely depends on there's different types of energy for sure. Okay, so let's see. Now that is very interesting. I don't know what to think. It feels like residual, but mm, alright. Let's see, let me go back to another story. I'm gonna upload that. Okay, I'm gonna share this one out. Again, if you guys are interested to see what I'm reading, I am over here on YouTube sharing my screen, so if you wanna see that, go ahead. Alright, so this one is called Convicts, Ghosts, and Tasmaniacs. Ooh, interesting name. Victor says, "Sounds more residual more than anything. The slapping the friend sounds intelligent, though." Yes. So I feel like the kegs and, all of that might be residual energy, but feeling something hit your back, that sounds definitely intelligent. Do Pepe Pepsi Pepe Pepsi Luce, sorry. Do you have any personal stories or encounters? Yes, I've shared a few. I know for people who've been on my regular lives over here on TikTok, you might have heard of these stories. Um, I think the one that I recently shared today was I was on a podcast, and I shared a few stories on there. The one that I feel like I always go back to is and it's kinda relevant today because online, the whole mimic thing is trending online or was trending about, where you hear somebody a voice mimicking a loved one or whatever. Um, so the story goes is that when I was younger, I was living in a house in Minnesota, and I was sharing a bedroom with my sisters at the time, and it was during the summer, so we had the window open, and, my parents were very much especially my dad, 'cause like I said, he briefly moved to Minnesota, but most has stayed in LA. And we weren't really allowed we didn't even really have pretty sure we didn't have air conditioning at the time. So this is back in, like, the '90s, uh, at best 2000, but I'm pretty sure it was, like, the late '90s. And I remember that we had the window open. My one of my sisters was working at a Chuck E. Cheese about 45 minutes away, and my sister and I so I have 2 older sisters, so one of them was at Chuck E. Cheese, one of them was fixing the closet, organizing. I was getting ready to go to bed because I had school the following day, and I was still very young, while they were much older than mine because they were 10 years older than me. And anyway, so out of nowhere, before I lay down, we hear my sister who's not there, she's the one working at the Chuck E. Cheese. We hear her voice, and she says my name frantically 3 times. So my sister and I, who's in the closet, we look at each other and we're like, "Hey, did you hear, our sister say my name?" And she said, "Yes." So we go to look out the window, there's no one out there. And so I wanna emphasize that as the late '90s, it's not like cell phones are accessible, it's not like, we didn't really have we were a lower income household, so it's not like we had, like, a tape recorder readily available that would even be loud enough to play my sister's voice like that, and besides, you would hear somebody walking out there or anything like that. Um, so Anyway, so we look out the window, no one's there, we go outside, her car isn't in the front, it's not in the garage, it's nowhere in sight. So, as a little girl, I'm panicking, I'm thinking there's something wrong that might have happened to my sister. That's why she was saying my name 3 different times, like, in a frantic state, and, so we ended up calling her job. Her boss answers the phone, and he's like, "Hey, if this is an emergency," or he's asking if it's an emergency, we say, "Yes," because if it wasn't, he would not have passed the phone to her. So we wanted to make sure that she was safe, that nothing bad had happened, and so he hands the phone off to her. She is cleaning the bathroom 45 minutes away at a Chuck E. Cheese. So, don't know what that was, and interestingly enough, when I revisited this story with my sister that was there that day, she actually said that she heard our sister say her name frantically 3 times, but I remember vividly my sister saying my name frantically 3 times. So, what we do know, though, is that she said it 3 times, but we both heard our own names being called rather than, like, my name, if that makes sense. So, it's really fascinating. I think it's been well over 20 years at this point. I think if it was a prank, my sister would have said something by this point. Um, no one has said anything. They also believe it's really weird, so I don't know. It's definitely an interesting story, don't know what that is. Um, Fast forward, I remember when I was a senior in high school no, I think I had just graduated, and the library had some paranormal investigators talking about a house that was haunted in that small town that I lived in Minnesota, and I asked them about it. I said, "Hey, I had this experience," and I was a skeptic at the time, so I just didn't know what to think of it. I at the time, I was still holding on to the fact that it might have been a prank somehow. They were like, "It could have been a ghost that knows how to mimic your loved one's voice." That was the first time I ever heard of that phenomenon, and then fast forward about 2, 3 years later, I'm talking to a psychic I've shared her story as well on my platforms. I asked her about this experience. I said, "Hey, there was somebody that, like or there was something, I don't know what it was, but it sounded like my sister. What do you think it was?" And it's interesting because I feel like she was the most positive about this experience, whereas, like, if you go online and, you read about mimics, it's always, like, very scary, it's very bad, all these things. But my mentor, essentially, someone I looked up to, because I would end up learning from her, she explained to me that she feels like it was perhaps, like a guardian or something that was perhaps, like, trying to get us to call my sister and check in on her and delay time because if she would have left her job sooner, it could have caused they're basically saying that, like, we probably prevented something bad from happening. Um, so she actually thinks it was a good thing that we called and checked in on her, and we made sure that she was okay because that in itself could have delayed time from, like, her walking out to the parking lot and getting hurt or getting in a car accident, and so basically she believed it was like a guardian angel of some kind. Um so, I really like that version because, like, I some of the rules that I've seen online with, like, mimics is, like, "Don't go looking for it, don't pay attention, blah, blah, blah." We did all the opposite. We literally went outside looking for my sister's car. We were looking for her, we responded, we did everything, and nothing bad ever happened. So, part of me is, like, interesting because again, you hear on the internet all the bad stuff about mimics and don't do this. But, like, I genuinely was like, "No, I'm gonna go what was out there? What is she out there?" Like, it's my sister, she sounds frantic, of course I'm going to go look for her. So, I don't know, I think it's a very interesting take that my mentor had. Um, Until this day, that story always gives me chills. It has stuck with me. The other interesting thing about that story is that, in 2020, I had my sister, the one that was with me that we both heard our sister. She, we did a live, but back in, like, 2020, you couldn't really do, like, a live with multiple people on TikTok, but she was on the phone with me and people were hearing the conversation, and her and I were talking about that story, and we actually uncovered more eerie things about that house. Like, for example, we both dreamt of this man in that house, but we didn't know who the description of this man, no one knew, like, I don't know, she doesn't know who it is. So it's really eerie that we both had a dream of, like, the same man in that house. Um, we both remember that experience. I even asked her, I said, "Hey, like, is it a time to, like did you prank me?" She's like, "Absolutely not. Like, I'm just as baffled as you are." So, I don't know. Very interesting. Jenny Fine says, "I've seen things on the internet about shapeshifters. They take on different forms." So, okay, I went on Shadow, I think it was Shadow UTC. They I know that the 2 brothers are now do have gone on to do different projects, but they're both Navajo, and they both are paranormal investigators, and we talked about shapeshifters are you talking about skinwalkers or, like, shapeshifters? But there's a couple of different things. So I feel like every culture, I don't know if I have the book near me. I have a book about, like, folklore and cryptids and stuff like that. And almost every culture has their own version of, like, something that shapeshifts. Like, for example, the owl, the witch that shapeshifts into an owl, right? Like, that can be found in Japan folklore and also in Latin American countries. There's also, the Selkie, the horse that, like, lures people to their death, that's a form of a shape-shifting creature. But as far as, like, skinwalkers go, I've spoken to 2 Navajo, people about it. I've been on their YouTube channel, we discussed it. They've also, been on my friend's podcast, we discussed it, and realistically, that is very much just a type of like, kinda like think of witchcraft, right? Like, there's different cultures that have their form of witchcraft. It could like, witchcraft is also just a big generic term, like, doing tarot was considered witchcraft. Healing with herbs is considered witchcraft. Um, and so for in Navajo culture, the skinwalker is a group of people that technically are doing, like, witchcraft that was considered a closed practice, and it's kinda like I wouldn't call it black magic, but it is, like, intense because in order to practice that, you have to sacrifice the thing that you love the most. Um, and so, like, that's why it's a really intense thing. So it's literally just like a person, essentially, that uses magic or, like, uses a form of witchcraft to disguise himself as a type of animal. But is it like a humanoid creature? No, it's not to that extent that, like, has been sensationalized in the media. Um, so yeah, I do hope that helps. Andika says, "I did ghost hunting with a buddy one time. We caught some drumming. We were in a wide open space." Interesting. In Colorado, there's like a bridge in Aurora, and there's this story of this, like, haunted bridge where, like, handprints will show up in your car, and I had a friend of mine that went there with her brother, and they heard drumming too, so that's really interesting that you're sharing that. Sorry, Jenny, fine, I know that there was a bloke that passed away in my flat, and I hear banging and thudding, I just leave them to it. It was this pla it was their place at one point, so I leave them to and you're used to it now. Oh my gosh, so is that, like is it haunted? Crybaby Bridge. Oh, is that, like, the bridge one the ones that you know? Interesting. Yeah, I don't know, there was so I think, like, the one in Aurora, I've heard about, like, that urban legend, like, the drumming stuff. There was this other there was another, I was reading on Reddit, the store and I can't find it now, but there was another bridge. It's funny how, like, there's so many different like, funny I don't mean to, like, haha, but, like, just interesting how there's so many different bridges where it's similar, where it's, like, if you leave your car on neutral or whatever, or you do something, like, handprints will show up or people hear drumming. Very interesting stuff. Alright, guys. Okay, so I've been on this live for an hour. We've had a lot of fun conversations. I really appreciate you guys. Enrique says, "We only heard drumming in the recording. There was no sound when we were there." Ooh, what do you think it was, like, residual energy? Or do you like, what do you think it is? That's interesting. I wonder if, like, that place once had, like, some type of significance for, like, maybe, like, Native Americans or something, just like there's Victor says there's just so many just like there's multiple legends all around of Resurrection Mary. Yeah, so, like, one of the ones too that's interesting is, like, the woman in white, right? The woman in white is also there's so many, like, stories and urban legends of the woman in white, but it just has a different name where it just depends on where you live also. And Indika says, "Hi, spiritual bombshell." Indika says, "Oh, deaf residual. I'm in Kansas City, so there was a lot of tribes there." Oh, that makes sense. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Jenny Fine says, "Crybaby Ridge, I think there was that woman that dropped her baby in the water, and she apparently tries to keep going back to find her baby, not sure though." Oh my god, yeah, that sounds exactly like, the story of, like, in Mexico, um, and even parts of, like, Central America of La Llorona. So, yeah, interesting. I like hearing other people's, like, what did they grew up with or the woman in white. Yeah, it's just like everyone has, like every around the world, it's the most interesting thing, the woman in white, is very interesting to me. Okay, guys, thank you so much for the likes over here on TikTok. Thank you. Okay, guys, so I've been on this live for a little over an hour. Alright, so I'm gonna end the live over here on YouTube because I think people checked out on there, which is fine. So but I did see some people in the chat, so I appreciate the people in the chat over here on YouTube ending the live over here.